We're good. Think it will start
Okay.
momentarily. Maybe I just needed to sign in on the website rather than just the app, but looks okay. Yeah, yeah, we're good. Perfect.
Okay.
Oh, technology. Anyway, so yeah, so three, two, one. Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Everything Geek podcast. I'm your host, Rory, and joining me today is a very special guest. We have Eugene Lin, best known for playing an Imperial Officer in Andor, a Royal Footman in Bridgerton and Queen Charlotte of Bridgerton Story, Helicopter Gunner 2 in Venom, Let There Be Carnage, a military medic in Venom, The Last Dance, a refugee Skrull in the Marvels, Benedict won't stand in on Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and Sun Khan stand in on Fast X, among others. How are you today, Eugene?
I'm good. Yourself?
I'm doing very well, thanks. Apologies to everyone for the delay. New laptop, new setup, and the usual technology hiccups that come with it. But yeah, so it's a pleasure to have you on.
Huh?
Hello.
I think it just froze for a second there, but I think we're okay now.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, yeah. So yeah, just seemed to be a little unstable there, but it's a pleasure to have you on the show today, Eugene. For my first question, how were you originally cast in Andor?
So I've been working as a supporting artist for about, I think, 2 years at the point for season one. And my previous one of my very first roles was in Black Widow as a military on the US military side, because in Singapore we have to do national service. So naturally they pick people who are already firearms trained or um well versed in military drills, just the way you move on camera. So I was lucky enough to be cast for that for Black Widow. And the same agency then took on Andor season one, and they were obviously looking for people with prior military experience, and so I happened to fit the bill, and I was available during the time. So yeah, that's how I got cast for season one.
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Were you a fan of Star Wars prior to your casting?
Oh yes, I've been a fan of Star Wars since, well, I think I was maybe 8 years old, 7 years old when I saw the original trilogy. And yes, I'm old enough to have lived through the prequel trilogy in cinemas. So I was collecting action figures from a very young age. And then I love the whole lore, the whole art direction, posters, everything about it. Yeah,
Absolutely, that's brilliant. Yeah, always great to start from a young age and, collect the action figures and other merchandise. Maybe one day we'll get, an Imperial officer, modeled off Eugene Lin.
that would have been nice. Unfortunately, they went with some other actor for the Ferrix one. So I actually made my own. I got it custom made. I work with a bunch of 3D artists, painters, and it's actually on my Instagram account.
Nice, that's brilliant, brilliant stuff. Yeah, if they won't make an official one, a custom one, next best thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. So many amazing customizers out there. So, what were you told about your part of the Imperial Officer when you were on set a bit to shoot your first scene and your character's part in that scene?
Well, you're deliberately not told a lot. Naturally, Star Wars is a very high profile project, so there are lots of code names for everything. Even the roles are code named. There's only two types of projects I know which have such level of secrecy, one being Star Wars, the other one being Marvel. Um, so deliberately wasn't told a lot. I mean, I went for the fitting and that was like a surprise because I really thought I'd just been cast as a regular stormtrooper. When I went into the fitting, I saw these 6 rows of helmets, white helmets, and I was just geeking out like, oh my God, I finally get to be a stormtrooper. And they went like, no, 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 you're not. And then they pull out this black uniform. I'm like, oh, what is this? I've never seen this um in on screen before, or I don't remember seeing it on screen. And then they fitted the stuff on, and I was like, okay, this is new. This is new. Um, and again, such high level projects, same as what I'm hearing with Squid Game, where you're only given the very bare necessary information. It's just to stop leaks. We live in a digital age. So we get on set, we're just told what the specific part of the scene is going to be. But the more days you do as the scene progresses, you start to build the picture in your head that, this is what the actual scene is like. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. And of course, with the Imperial Officer as well. I mean, you said you thought you were going to be a stormtrooper originally, but if anything, it worked out even better because we all get to see you on screen. We see, the
Oh, yeah.
faces of all the, Imperial officers and security troopers. And yeah,
Yeah.
underneath the stormtrooper helmet, we won't be able to see your face.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, as your Imperial officer, you got to wear not just a more traditional Imperial officer uniform, but also the security trooper appearance, the all armored look. What were the costumes like to wear? Were they comfortable, uncomfortable?
The costumes were painful. I am not going to sugarcoat it. It's very, very heavy, particularly the ones I wore in season one and the ones I chose to wear in season two. So the ones that I wore in season one were actually leftovers, or carryovers from, if I'm not wrong, it was from Solo, the Battle of Mimban, the Mud Troopers.
Yeah, yeah.
They were the exact armored pieces, and I think they had like 3 or 6 of the originals, and then they made more of those in studio for, of course, we have a lot more security troopers for in season one than they were mud troopers. So it's very, very heavy. And I remember my first day on set for season one. I only wore the under layers with the cap, and I was quite disappointed because it was just basically patrolling around the hotel. And I was telling costume people like, oh, when do we get to wear the cool armor? And they were like, oh, trust me, you will regret it. And regret saying that as soon as you put it on. And they were right. They were very right. Um, so what most people don't realize is the construction of the trousers. There's no elastic. It's not constructed like a regular trouser. It's really made like old school where you wear suspenders on your shoulders. So all the weight is of the trouser is already on your shoulders, plus the weight of the tunic and the belt, and then the armor on top. So everything just rests on your shoulders. It's very, very heavy. Yeah.
Wow, I would never have guessed that. The heaviest part would be, the shoulders, all because of the trousers going all the way up. That is mad.
And it's very tight because they always want the trousers to be very flat. You don't see a lot of slack in the trousers, and in fact at the bottom of the trousers we have a little bit of elastic as well that goes around the heel of the foot, so it keeps your trousers very, very strict.
Wow, that's amazing. So, like, Imperial officers, of course, are such an iconic part of Star Wars going all the way back to the first film. What is it like being able to say that you played an Imperial officer?
It's very nice. In We weren't actually told what the role was, and didn't really have a designation. I think it was the Star Wars Black series when they came out with the actual figure for season one, and it said Imperial Officer Ferrix. So that was the first time it was that particular role was put in canon. Because till then we are just referred to by the closest cousin type trooper, which would have been the Mud Trooper. But then we didn't. Mud Troopers have the two tubes and the face, lower face covering as well, which we didn't have. And obviously we've got the riot shields and then the batons, the spears, the E11 blasters, which they don't have. So it wasn't until the end of season one then they seemingly called the role what it was. But yeah, it's very nice. It's very nice to be the first one, and if I'm not wrong, the first Asian one, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right on that. Yeah, it's like And yeah, even on the Mud Troopers, I mean, when they were created for Solo, of course, it's a muddy planet. It's similar to the Shore Troopers in Rogue One. Like originally they were called Scarif Troopers after the planet,
Mm.
but then they started using them in other media, and they were just like, okay, now they're Shore Troopers.
Yeah,
No, we can't keep calling them Scarif Troopers if they keep appearing on other planets.
yeah, and Scarif, not quite sure that exists anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so what was your reaction like to finding out you had been cast in Andor?
Um, Nervous, very happy, very thrilled, of course, but also very nervous. Being cast is not a guarantee of having screen time. A lot of my colleagues who were cast in the same roles as well. I think season one we had, I think somewhere around 33, 36 Imperial officers, excluding stormtroopers and higher ranking officers. But very few of them actually had like, nice screen time, screenshots of themselves. So it was a case of, okay, I've got the chance to do this. Like, will I survive the editor's room? That was the big question. And because that was shot, I think, 18 months before release. So it's all that time waiting, waiting, waiting. I think season one was also an episode, a week by week rollout. If I'm not wrong, I think the first three episodes were released first, and then it was a week by week rollout.
Yeah,
So I had
yeah,
to
that's
wait
right.
all the way until the last episode, pretty much the last few scenes, and go like, okay, yeah, I survived. Yeah, that was nice. Yeah, it was
Yeah,
worth it.
yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. Sometimes it's just right place, right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, helps. I think that your character is like located like near Captain Tigo and Lieutenant Keysax. Some of the senior officers. With the dialogue and screen time, because you're like, I'm so close to them. Like I kind of have to be in the shot when they're talking.
I hope so because I've been in productions before where I'm literally right beside the titular character for the closing scene, and then they either rewrite, scrap, or reshoot the whole thing. So it was just like, oh my God, please let this work. We had a setup where um it was a crane shot, a really long, far away crane shot that pushed in, and the direction was look as fierce and as angry as possible, and that you hate the people of Ferrix because they're vermin and they're scum, and just hold that until we say cut. And that was the whole thing for that particular shot. And people who did see the monitors told me later, like, you're right in the middle of that shot. They have to use it. There were so many shots of you. I was like, you don't believe it? You hope so? But again, it was 18 months of waiting. And then, like, yeah, they used that shot. That was nice.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. So what was your experience like shooting your scenes for Andor and working with the cast and crew?
So, Andor 1 and Andor 2 are, even though obviously it's the same show, they're two very, very different creatures, as it were. Andor 1, we must remember, was shot during the COVID pandemic. So that was difficult because, of course, we had daily testing, sometimes two tests a day. We had people getting positive results, false positive results, and then being pulled from the show. And in between every shot, we had to put our black masks on, fabric mask. And don't forget, you got the helmet that goes like this, and you're trying to put the mask on with your gloves, and you've got the shield in your hand, and there's nowhere to rest these things on. You just gotta have to do it, and you just had to. It was just protocol. If you didn't want to do it, if you complained about it, there's the exit. There's someone else waiting to do your job for you. So it's cold. It's freezing outside. I think Ferrix we shot in February of 2021, 22, something like that. It's freezing. So your nose is running. They say cut. You got to put the thing on, and just as you put it on, they'll go, okay, we're going again. So it was just hours and hours of really grueling repetitive stuff. But then towards the end, we get to do some cool things as well, like when the um vehicle got blown up. We got to react to that. They actually used pyrotechnics and stunt wire to pull the vehicle. I think it was the tank. Can't remember the exact name of it. It's in the back shot of the Ferrex riots that gets blown up.
Yeah.
They did a real explosion for that. That was cool. Then we were given a couple of hours on one day to just roam Ferrex, literally just roam everywhere. As long as you don't ruin things, don't mess things up, don't destroy the set dressing, you know, just go everywhere. So I got to explore Marva's apartment. I didn't know whose apartment it was at the time because obviously the cast weren't there. Just like lie in her bed, go through like her plants and things like that. Go to the garage, look through all the um vehicles there, open the toolboxes, and everything was just so fleshed out. I really expected, you turn a corner somewhere. Of course, some parts you turn the corner, it's obviously the wooden backing board and the electricals, but a lot of the in set dressing of the actual rooms was so fleshed out. It was like being a theme park. That was really incredible. Really incredible.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's fantastic. So Janice Metz and Benjamin Caron directed the episode you appeared in. What were they
Mhm.
like to work with and be directed by?
So that was season two. Season two was a totally different experience. So season two, we were in studio. We are in Pinewood Studio on the back lot. And first time you see the plaza, um, it's like, wow, they went through so much effort to build this whole actual plaza set. But by the fourth week, you're like, please make it stop. How can we still be doing this scene? Why is how is it taking so long? But they were very, very both the directors um and screenwriters who were there on set, they were very particular. It wasn't just like, oh, your background, just try not to get in the way of stuff and look pretty or look fierce and let the cast do their job. That whole scene basically was sold by the background because if you look closely at the actual scene itself, there isn't a lot of dialogue in between characters or to the characters. It's how the Gormans are reacting to the Imperials, and the Imperials are talking to themselves, the Gormans are talking to themselves, and it's all the facial reactions, the fear, the anger, the panic of that. So we were given very, very specific instructions. On the Imperial side, of course, look fierce, hate these people. You're there to instill law and order, and these are the local vermin scum who are trying to ruin everything. And on the Gorman side, these are your colonizers. Don't be laughing at them. Don't be smiling at them. The key thing was don't laugh. But it's hard because you're doing such an emotionally charged scene. You've got all this like fear, panic, take after take after take. Naturally, when you cut, just as a human response, just to release that, you laugh. You just laugh it off. Because when you do the actual take, it's very, very serious. But what they didn't want is, you get people like running through the crowd thinking they can't be seen when we sometimes shot with like 6 cameras and it picks people up who are just laughing in the background. That just ruins things. So that was the key thing. Don't laugh, treat this seriously. You're all under attack. This is a real riot. But once they got that going, the directors weren't just like, okay, that's cool. Just do it again. They actually came out and they were very appreciative of us, which is really nice. They come back and give us notes like telling us, don't think just because your background, you're not being seen. We're seeing all of you. There's no cast here today. Some of the days, literally 3 or 4 days, there were no cast. They were just shooting background reactions, Gorman side and the Imperial side. So yeah, there was a lot of feedback. It was very personable. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Like that's really cool to hear that, there was such like specific instructions and, specific shooting days for the background because, with some shows it would, be like, background as filler and all that, filling in the
Mhm.
scene. But on Andor, it all sounds very personable and that they want to make sure everyone had reactions.
I even heard from friends who did season one, the Narkina 5 scene, the prison scene, which was incidentally the last episode to be shot for season one. The director actually paid to make his own t-shirts as a thank you to the background, as a thank you gift for them. yeah, I was quite jealous. Some of my friends got the t-shirts. I was like, yeah, that's cute. Where's mine?
Wow, it's amazing. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the Andor crew could have just been like, "We'll give you that armor that you really liked so much."
Yeah. Yes, please. That would be nice. No chance.
Um, so yeah, as part of your role in Andor, you got to be part of two of the most iconic scenes in the show, the Ferrex Uprising in season one, the Gorman Massacre in season two. What was it like? Did you have any idea when you were filming, not just the scale, but did you re think they were going to be so iconic?
When we're doing Ferrix, I found out it was the final episode. We did not shoot season one in chronological order. So episode 11 was shot like around February, March. And then they went on to shoot the Aldani scenes later on in Arkina 5 towards summer. But because I knew it was the final episode, I knew that the stakes were really high. And then when they played Marva's speech, just the audio of it, I was like, okay, this is what one hell of a way to close a season. So there was the expectation of that particular episode was going to be very important because that was set up for season two. There were already rumors of season two happening at that point. It had been sort of greenlit already at that point. But to come back and do it a second time for in Gorman, now that was special because a lot of my colleagues who were booked for season one weren't asked back for season two. Season one and season two had two completely different crews, two completely different costume departments, makeup departments. I think most of the prop people were different as well. So to be asked back in the same role, I actually did pull a request like, if I do come back, can I please come back in this role? I did play in season one. And I did try and get some of my friends from season one back on, but in the end, they only seemingly chose me to come back for season two. So that was doing two back to back. That was special.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. What would you say are your favorite memories from your time working on Andor?
Oh, well, the um hmm, favorite memories. These for season one, it will be Marva's speech. Hearing her the audio, it actually it wasn't fight the empire as we now know. They actually used the original swear word in that, and every time they played the speech when we shoot from different angles, it just made my skin stand, the hair on my skin stand up like, they really gonna get away with this? Will Disney actually allow them to use this? It doesn't matter. Even though they didn't, the impact of it still hit really, really hard. And for season two, it was actually the singing. Although the song did drive me mad for a bit. We did the song, I think, for 2 days live. And then after that, they mixed it with playback. So that was a bit like, oh God, this song again. Here we go. Listening to the song, but then you see an impact on their faces. And then the explosions and all that. That was very memorable. Not every day, not every job you'll get to run around with live squibs and explosions and just react to that live.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. What would you say were the biggest challenges you faced working on Andor? Was it the costumes or was there something else?
The lack of sleep. Both times the severe lack of sleep. Because we're there we start maybe at 5:30 in the morning, which means we leave home at about 3:30. If you're lucky, I usually get the pickup from central London out either the studio or the location. So that leaves at about 4 a.m., 4:30 in the morning. And then I'm in costume from anywhere from 6:30 all the way to 6:30, 6:45, 7 even in the evening. And we don't get to take the costumes off for lunch. It's not like Comic Con, like, oh, I'm going to the toilet now. Someone will come and like de-rig me and take the costume off, and I'll go sit down and have a nice little drink. Like, no, you're in that role for the next 12 hours. You eat, you do everything Skrull. And then by the time you get out of that, get home, get showered, sleep maybe like 4 or 5 hours, and you do the whole thing again the next day. Many people feel sick naturally because of the exhaustion, the cold, the fatigue. Um, but yeah, that's what I found. It's not a sprint, it was a marathon. Both times it really felt like a marathon.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, all of that to be able to say that you've worked on Star Wars,
Oh yeah.
you had better see yourself on screen after all that.
Oh yeah. Yeah, just be able to get a few nice frames. It's like jackpot. I exist in canon.
Absolutely, for sure. So how does it feel to have been part of an amazing live action Star Wars show on Disney Plus and Andor and being able to say you've been in Star Wars?
Oh, it's a privilege. It really is. As I said, it's every kid who loves Star Wars wants to be in Star Wars. That's why, as a kid, we play with the action figures. If you have the opportunity, you go to the theme parks. You just want that little piece of like being in the movie, and then to actually be in one and see what it's actually like from inside. It's such a treat. And having worked on other productions, even long-running franchises, there's something about the Star Wars franchise because the people who work on it now grew up with it either in the 70s, 80s, 90s. And now they're working in the art department, they're working in costume, they're working as riggers. So there's a deep personal respect for that and love for that and passion for that. It makes them go above and beyond what a usually contracted job is like. And you can really actually feel it on set. The kind of respect and admiration for being part of the legacy. So that was huge that I've never felt on any other franchise, even huge franchises like Fast, Furious, and some of the Marvel projects. Star Wars is not something that comes every year, thankfully, and as it should be. The universe is big enough, give space to breathe. But to be able to be part of that was great. And then later on, the whole thing I've written about on my Instagram post about representation being the first East Asian, that was big for me because I always thought to myself, yeah, it's cool. You get a nice face shot at all. But growing up from someone from an island, I'm from Singapore, the idea of even being considered for Star Wars, it was so remote and so far away. It was like, yeah, it's a cool idea, but it's other people's dreams. And then to actually be in it and be seen right in the middle of frame, I was just wondering, like, maybe some other kid somewhere would see that and go, like, you know, they have a chance at Star Wars too. And it wasn't until I think about a few months ago when Andor 2 was released, I started showing up on the internet and saying, like, oh, hello, this is me introducing myself. And I get people I've never met, never spoken to, did not know of their existence telling me, like, oh my God, it's you. When I first saw you, I finally screamed and said, like, there's an Asian Imperial officer for the first time. They saw themselves. So realizing that importance and representation, that's what makes it really special for me to be in Star Wars.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. I mean, it's just one of those amazing things where dreams can become reality. So that's absolutely special.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. My final question for you, Eugene. Star Wars has a lot of upcoming live action content. We've got Ahsoka season two,
Mhm.
plus The Mandalorian and Grogu and Starfighter as
Mhm.
upcoming films. Are there any characters you would like to see get live action films or shows?
Oh, I am excited for Ahsoka, which is shooting here, and Starfighter as well is shooting here. Um, but I do really love Grogu, so I am looking forward to that movie and seeing how that wraps up the whole Mandalorian arc. Starfighter will be an interesting one because we haven't actually seen a series that's focused around just the pilots. I think the scrap project was called Rogue Squadron. And Ahsoka, from what I've heard from friends who are working on it, is they've ditched the whole um, use of the volume. There's a lot of practical sets this time. Um, and thanks to that, it's not as, how should I put it, flat. So there's a lot more practical effects and things you can achieve practically. Just that's what really made Andor stand out, is the use of practicals wherever possible. So that I'm very really interested to see. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. So that's all of my questions for you today, Eugene. It's been a pleasure talking to you on the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And hopefully we can talk again sometime.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, Eugene. I'll look forward to talking to you again sometime. Thanks for joining us and take
Thank
care.
you.